Welcome back to another episode of Unpacking with Jennifer Satel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to get notifications when a new episode drops. Yay! Okay, guys, welcome back. We're doing a little video today, which I look like a DJ and I love it. And I have the most amazing guest. And I say this every time because I'm always so thankful that people take the time to kind of chat with me. And as you know, I want to just bring in people with different backgrounds and all of this. So I'm going to welcome Sam, and she is here.
Hi.
Hi. And just kind of give me just a little bit about yourself. And obviously, we'll talk about how we met, but just tell me a little bit about yourself to begin with. So I don't want to steal your thunder.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, I am local to Westlake Village. I grew up in Agora Hills, so I'm a valley girl by nature. And I have two girls who are 12 and 15. Just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, my husband and me. Crazy. We
Ooh,
were also high school sweethearts, so it was we've been together a
wow.
very, very long time. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I do home loans. I love figuring out the puzzle of being a lender and figuring out how to get somebody into a home and make their dreams come true to purchase their first home or another home or a home for a family member or even refinance and save them some money or get some money out of the home and unlock some of that equity of their house.
Which is so important, especially now, right? We know that things are kind of crazy in the market. I don't know much, but I know a little bit. And what you do is so critical to make those dreams come true because sometimes there's some magic and a wand happening behind the scenes. And I know that I am confident you have a very important role, but I know that you have to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to make it happen and make people just have their dream, which one day I will use you to help me have my dream because I still rent.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got to work on that. Yes.
I know. That's my goal. So let me just tell you guys, a lot of times I meet people because of what I do. I go into people's homes and I met you probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Would you
Yeah.
say? And she's amazing. Besides the fact she lives in a beautiful home and her dog is my best friend. Every time I go, I just want to hang out with her dog, which I feel sometimes I'm just weird. I'm like, hi, yes, I'll organize, but give me a minute with Tommy. He's
Tommy
so
loves
cute.
you. I got a
He,
new lamp. I don't know if you saw, and it
oh,
looks like Tommy.
oh
It's
my
like
God,
an
it
old.
does.
I don't know. It came from Anthropology, but I guess they have like this whole doodle line right now. So anyway, so
It
Tommy's here, although
does.
he might
Tommy is
let himself into our call, but we'll see. Sometimes he just opens doors,
He
whenever
just
he wants.
does. He does. He wants to be where all the cool people are.
Yeah.
So first of all, I did not know you guys were high school sweethearts, which I guess we don't really talk about that when we're talking about like what's to do today when I'm at your house. But that's so interesting because I mean that's like it's like that's it. I mean that's like your high school sweetheart, and
I
here you
know. I
are.
mean, we dated other people in college, but we met when I was in ninth grade. I was just turning 14. I mean, I was
Oh my,
still 13 when I met him at a football game at Agora High.
oh my
And
God, I love it.
we dated all through high school. He went away to school, then I went away to school. We dated other people while we were in college. And then when we came back, we basically were just together. And
Yeah.
so when he finally proposed, I think we were together 12 years at the time. And he was like, well, we're starting at zero again. And I was like, well, that's not fair. We have all these other years, right? But married 20 and together, I think 32, which is
Oh my
insane.
God.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Um, that's amazing.
I
I
know.
can't
It's
imagine
pretty
that, but
crazy.
I love those stories. Those are special. And what does he do again? Is he in the same industry as you? No.
No, Jason works with Ring, which is that video doorbell, and
Oh
he
yeah.
helps run some software for them called Salesforce. So he helps run the
Okay.
sales
Okay.
teams and helps them use the system to kind of figure out who to sell to, how much they've sold, etc.
I just know you guys are like this packed, like you're nonstop. When I'm there, it's like you guys are each in your own office and you're just making things happen. So I wasn't exactly sure what he did, if he was in the same industry, but I knew I actually had it wrong, you guys. I thought she was a real estate agent because I just feel like she was always talking real estate. And I didn't think about the secondary part of mortgage, which is
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
So, okay. And you have your daughters, which I've helped with their stuff because they love stuff and they love.
Right. As does everyone, right? Yeah.
And yeah, and I just want to say it's just it, especially like your older daughter, she's more of the keeper. Everything is a little more special. Not to say your younger one doesn't love stuff and wants to keep stuff, but she's so different, and it's so interesting to see the dynamic because I also feel that you and your husband are the same, where
Right.
you
Exactly. Yeah.
where you
And the ones
kind
who
of.
look like us are more like us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because I see that in a lot. Rarely do I see two spouses where they're both kind of like a little more attached to things. But it's funny because you're just like, I'm ready, Jennifer, let's do this. And I see sometimes Jason, not that he's like peaked, but he'll come around the corner and just like do like a little glance at like what's going
Right.
on in there, like what's I see a lot of bags. What's happening here? And
Yeah.
he doesn't say anything, but
What are you getting rid of mine? Yeah.
I know, I know. Okay, so let me ask you this, because I love to just kind of dive into how you got to. I mean, obviously, okay, the personal part. Yes, that's adorable that you guys. I mean, 32 years. I mean, geez, that's so crazy. But you guys went to college. Did you go to college to do this? What did you go to college for? I mean, was that the goal, just like business or
No,
just whatever?
I actually come from a family of lawyers. And so I thought I was going to
Oh,
go to law school. And so I majored in English and Spanish and took the LSAT and did terribly. And I went to one of my professors who had this like long gray beard. And he called himself John. We didn't call him Mr. Rubidoux. So John, I went to John and I was in tears and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. Right. I was all of like 21.
sure.
Um, and if I don't go to law school, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he said, I just figured it out. And I think he was like in his late 80s. He said,
Oh,
I when I became a professor, I realized all I want to do is die here with my chalkboard, my chalk running down the chalkboard as my last day. And there's no pressure. You don't have to know at 21. You can be lots of different things. And so it took all this pressure off and it was like such a great piece of advice. And so I started looking for jobs. I was at school at Michigan, and so there were very few jobs that were hiring in Los Angeles because I wanted to be back near Jason and my family. So one of the jobs that came up was this training program in mortgage called Countrywide Home Loan University. Do you remember
I
Countrywide?
do remember Countrywide. I didn't
Yeah.
know they had a university, but
Yeah,
yes.
they called it university. It was for university
Sure,
students. So there were
sure.
like 30 of us recently graduated kids who started this training program. It was 9 months long. I think 9 months or 18 months. I don't know. It was a really long program. And they flew us to Texas and back where their headquarters were and to North Carolina.
Oh,
And we
wow.
learned all, and then so we would learn for like a month or two and then come back and actually do the job hands on in a local office. So we would all come together and then we would all disperse across the country. So I would always come back to LA, different offices of Countrywide,
Yes.
and did little parts of the job. And it was the best training I think I could have ever asked for. And so then I started. So I started as sort of like, once I finished the program, I was sort of like an assistant to a loan officer
Sure.
and pricing loans and figuring out problems because that's really all I do all day is problem solve. So got a little bit of taste of that. And then I wanted my own territory. I wanted to go out and sell. And my manager said, once you hit this number with your account executive, then I'll give you a territory. So he gave me like the furthest parts of Los Angeles that hadn't been covered yet. So I had Santa Clarita, Lancaster,
Oh,
Palmdale,
yeah.
Simi Valley, and I lived on the west side at the time. So it was a bit of a drive, but against traffic, and it was fine. And I really loved it. I was a wholesale account executive, and I all day got to talk to mortgage brokers. Every day I'd go to a different city. So
Oh,
Mondays I was in Lancaster, Tuesdays I was in Santa Clarita, et cetera. And so I had like a little milk route. And
yeah.
I'd come with a flyer and talk to brokers. And then around 2007, I sort of saw the writing on the wall. They were
Sure.
Countrywide was, about to have a whole problem, but we didn't know that yet. But at the time, right before the mortgage meltdown, the company was incentivizing us to sell a loan program called the negative amortization loan. And it was based on this program where your interest rate was like 1.95. You could choose to pay that, or you could choose to pay the regular interest rate of 7 something. Um, and you had all of these options, like 5 different ways to pay. And we would get paid more for every loan we sold like this. Well, what happened was people didn't pay that they paid that low rate. And
Yeah.
then what ended up happening is they were upside down on their house, right? And there was that
Yeah.
huge mortgage meltdown. I was like, I got to get out of here. I went and applied to business school. I got into business school and I started in '08. And I thought that when I left the business that I would never come back. I was like, I had a pager. People would be paging me like 911. Call me back. I was like, I am not, there's no emergency right now. I mean, maybe your appraisal didn't come in, or your house isn't going to close on time, but there's nothing 911. I was so sick of wearing that pager. Um, we had Blackberries, I'm quickly trying to
Yes.
respond. It was like, yeah. So, anyway, I went to business school. I thought in business school I would get into more of the commercial side, or commercial real estate, or commercial lending. But with the meltdown, a lot of the banks just started to implode, one of them being Countrywide.
Oh,
So
yeah.
at the end of business school, I was advised that I could either stay in sales, which is what I always had done pretty much, or change industries. Um, but like stay in sales within a different industry, or stay in the same industry, which was imploding, which I didn't want to do, and go back to mortgage. So I went and worked at IBM right
Okay.
out of business school in sales. And I helped sell to the C level of like state and government agencies. So Cal State, UC,
Okay.
LADWP,
Okay.
and would try to talk to like the CIOs about projects they were working on, and then bring in people like a software specialist or a hardware specialist. And it was really boring.
It doesn't sound like a lightning bolt
It
happening
was
in your day.
really, really boring. The sales cycles were super long. I was not doing the problem solving and that like quick thinking that I like to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had had my first daughter, and then right after I'd had her, they let me go, which was kind of strange. Not quite right, but whatever. So I was
Not right
part
at
of a
all, but
layoff,
okay.
and I was so devastated.
Yeah.
Um, then Jason and I started working on a startup where you could order drinks from your cell phone, sort of like Starbucks. This was pre-COVID. This was like 2013.
Yeah.
Um, Somewhere around there, maybe 2012. So we created this app where if you go to a bar, you could order drinks from your phone. We designed it, and then we tried to do it. And it was sort of this chicken before the egg problem, because a lot of bartenders were like, "Yeah, this sounds great, but people come to the bar to talk to me." I was like, "No, they don't."
I'm confident they don't. I think they
No, they're
just want the
going out with
drink.
their friends. I mean, maybe depending on certain bars, but no.
Yeah.
Anyways, it really didn't go anywhere. And then we had our second daughter, and I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of done with this, like trying to start my own thing. So I was looking, I think it was like on Facebook or something. One of my old mortgage brokers from Simi Valley had posted that he was looking for a loan officer. And I thought, well, this could be good if I liked the industry. And then I sort of switched from selling to mortgage brokers, and now I would be selling to consumers, working with realtors. So now, ever since then, I worked at a couple different companies, but always inside of a real estate office. So now I am associated with Compass as their preferred lender, and I sit in 3 different Compass offices locally. So fast forward, I used to work at Movement Mortgage, where I was on the west side in a couple of Keller Williams offices. Then when I moved to the Westlake area, I'm now with a company called Origin Point, and I sit in 3 different Compass offices: Westlake Village, Studio City, and Calabasas. And
Oh,
I'm their
wow.
preferred lender. But I still can
Awesome.
work with any realtor, any client, um, anywhere. It just I get a lot of my business from Compass realtors.
Right. You're like the go-to there, but you could
Yeah.
do, yeah. So let me ask you this. Okay, so the meltdown of the mortgage happened and all of that
Mhm.
happened. Then you had your daughter, obviously your oldest daughter. Did you stay at home at all, or were you still working? Oh no, you got laid off then.
I
And
got
that's when
laid
you guys
off,
were
and
starting off.
then
I'm
we
sorry, I heard you.
quickly started this business. So I've never really been a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't either. Um,
Yeah.
did you take any time off when you had your second daughter? Did you or just not
Not
really?
really. I
Just like
I
the
actually
basics?
started I had to study for my license because when I first started at Countrywide, you didn't have to have a license. Another reason maybe for the meltdowns.
Maybe maybe that
Um,
explains a lot. Just
yeah,
kidding.
so I had to study and do all these hours, and I remember I had Addie, like, in a baby Bjorn,
Oh,
holding
yeah.
her as I was studying. So I've always worked, my mom has always worked. She still works. She's actually in
Yes.
teaching.
Yes,
Um
I know your mom is so great
Yes.
too.
So I've always worked, and then that's where you come in. I've always delegated because there is no way that I could do everything.
Yeah.
So I've always been I'm not like somebody who likes to hold all the power. I like to delegate, and I still like to live my life and do things and do what I wanna do versus be stuck,
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, well, I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
I'll just deal with my kids' playroom being a giant mess and it taking
Trying to
2
bomb.
days." Yeah, like, that's why you hire people to help you, right? And it just makes
Yeah.
you more productive.
It does, and, yeah, and that's one of the things I talk about, like, just for myself and just, like, sometimes when people are struggling, like, "Oh, I'm trying" the list I always see, I've talked about this several times, is if I'm doing someone's office or if I'm at the kitchen, there's, like, a notepad. I swear to you, 99.9% of the time, there is some point where it says "organize" as their to-do list, and I'm like, "I've seen this list now." They'll have me come in, but I still see it. It's still relevant, like, it's still maybe they rewrote it, like, and I'm like, I've helped you before." Like, it just sometimes makes your life a little easier, but what I find amazing about you, there's a lot of things, but one of the things is, I mean, you just kind of I feel it sounds like I'm sure the startup part was hard and I wasn't there for that because I'm sure that whole thing is just a whole, starting up anything and just like trying to figure stuff out. But you kind of just you realized that you didn't want to be a lawyer, which I did not know that. But you just even though Countrywide died, then you got laid off, you just kept like you know what I mean? Like you just kind of knew a path and like how to take it and things kind of I don't wanna say the universe kind of brought that Facebook post that kind of brought that back to, get you out of that maybe that little funk you were in with the startup. I don't know that it was a funk, just a learning tool. But it's just interesting, sometimes I go to clients' houses and they're just stay-at-home moms and they tell me all the stuff they wanna do and they just can't, they just don't have, they kind of are because they don't wanna pay the daycare, they don't wanna do these different things, and then they kinda don't get to do it, so it's really amazing that you still raised 2 amazing daughters. They're amazing. They're so amazing. And you're just, like, kicking ass. I love that, and those are just stories, like, you know, it wasn't all beautiful. You worked for a company that died.
Yeah,
Everybody knows about Countrywide. It
yeah,
died. It's funny because I meet a lot of people who that's where they kind of started, like,
yeah,
2006, 2007, and it's so funny is I know nothing about that industry, but I know Countrywide, and I know
yeah, it was
2008 was
all
when
over the news. It was
yeah,
yeah,
and 2008, the nail just hit the coffin and everything just died, and
yeah,
I have friends that at that time, around, that time, 2007, maybe 2006, were finally able to buy a house, and same thing, they did that shit where it was the lower interest,
yes.
and they lost their homes, and it took them
Oh,
so long to, like, because they were upside down, they ended up just walking away
yes.
because they were just and that was, a long time ago, 20 years ago, so that's I mean, I just turned 50 this year, and
Happy birthday. That's a big
thank you.
birthday.
I mean, I don't wanna be 50, I'm just gonna tell you that right now, but it's fine.
Don't do that
Everything's
hard.
fine. But, to think it in your 20s, you got a house and then you know what I mean? Like, you were probably so excited just to even do that, and then that happened, so and I've seen them rebound, it took a long time, and I'm sure
Yeah,
you've seen a lot of things go up and down, and, how is the market now? And I'm only asking that just because I know there's a lot of people who I know that are kinda keeping their eyes open and, whatever, but like the market changes so much and like how do you stay so I feel like you're so busy. I'm sure you are busier than I
yeah,
even know.
yeah. It's,
Does it ever like
so the
ebb and
market right
flow?
now, I think, this to me, I'm always growing my business. Every year I'm trying to get better and improve my systems and I see every year growth. But overall, the real estate industry last year for 2025 wasn't great, sort of flat. Um, I think this year there was a drop in interest rates at the very beginning of the year, like January, February, just naturally happened. It wasn't anything that the Fed did. And I had a whole lot of refinances. So that was really nice to propel my year to date now volume is definitely tracking to be a lot even better than last year. Um, so we'll see. I think no matter what, there always are going to be people who want to buy for so many different reasons, right?
Right.
So I think since COVID, a lot of people got those super low interest rates of like the 2% or 3%. And they're like, great, I'm never going to move again. I have like free money, a free loan. It's so easy. But then a lot of people, I think, since COVID, they call it, I think, the 5 Ds, which is like death, divorce, diapers. There's 2 others. I have to think about it. But there's always a reason, right?
Right.
Your job gets moved and you have to move out of state. Um, people don't want to live together anymore, or maybe somebody passed away, or maybe your kids got big and you don't need that big house anymore. And
Yeah.
maybe in 2020, they were already kind of ready to leave. And then that low rate kept them to stay. And now it's been 6 years and they're thinking, I can't live at this house any longer. So there
Yeah.
are a lot of people. There's a little bit more inventory than last year, so there's a lot more homes for sale. I mean, a lot, but not really a lot. Like there's
Yeah.
still a home housing crisis and not enough homes for sale, but it's definitely more than it was because you're probably you're seeing probably a lot of signs on the corners, on the
Yeah.
weekends for open houses, a little bit more than there used to
A
be.
little bit more. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm seeing 2 main things. One is, young families who were living in a condo, maybe they bought it in 2, 3 years ago and they've
Mhm.
outgrown it.
Yeah.
Because when you have, young kids, you want space and they're getting bigger and these walls seem like they're getting smaller, these rooms are getting smaller. So they want to move to a bigger place. Um, but all the money that they have for the down payment for a new house is going to have to come from their old house. So they would have to sell first. And that's traditionally how people do it is they sell and then they buy the next house.
Right.
But the way the market is right now, many sellers will say, "Great, Jen, I love your offer on my place and I would love to accept your offer, but I can't have you say you're going to sell your house first. What if that falls out? What if your buyer doesn't qualify for the loan? What if
Yeah.
it takes a year to sell your house, right?" And
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing too is a lot of homes are taking a really long time to sell. Most likely because sellers think the prices are higher than they really are and the market is what determines it, right? What a buyer is willing to pay for it and what a seller is willing to sell it for is how much it's worth, right? Seller might not really think that, but so there's a lot of that going on. So what I'm helping is right now is I'm helping homeowners buy before they sell. So
Oh,
not sell then buy, but
okay.
buy then sell. So what we do is we help them get some of that equity out of their old house, and then use that. We get a loan on it called a home equity line of credit. We take the money out of their old house, and then they use that as down payment on the new home. We get them a mortgage on the new home also, and then when they sell, they pay off that HELOC, they pay off their old mortgage. But this way, they don't have to say to a seller, "Well, I have to sell first," which sellers are not going to accept your offer that way.
Yeah. That's I wanted to ask you and you when you said COVID, because I feel like the world is either like BC before
Right.
COVID, right?
Exactly.
It is. And I was still working during COVID and actually minus those first 3 months. I mean, I've said this before, like I was actually the busiest I'd ever been right like
Mhm.
after that first 3 or 4 months where everything was really weird and we didn't know what was going on. But I would see because I partner with real estate agents and kind of get homes ready, like, for photography or whatever, and I mean, some of these houses were just absolute dumps, right? And they were just selling it as is, and
Yeah.
the market during COVID was freaking bananas.
Yeah.
Um, there was this house I've talked about it because it was one of those things where my brain just I don't expect things to be picture perfect. Like, obviously, I'm high nothing's picture perfect in this kind of scenarios because they need me to come and get this house ready, right? This house was, like, OG, original everything, like I want to say 1958, maybe 1960, and I'm being generous. I really think it was like the late 50s. It was in Woodland Hills, and it blew my socks off. I may not have even been wearing socks, but they blew off. So the real estate agent was like, I need some help. But she kind of she's fantastic, and I love working with her, but sometimes she's very vague. She's just like, this one needs some love. And I'm thinking, okay, sometimes she'll just say this one needs some help. So I was like, all right, she used two different words. Maybe this one needs a little more love. Everything was original. Everything. When I say everything, when you walked in the front door, the carpet that was now, maybe if it was this thick, was just flat. And it was where it was worn. I didn't even know. Do you remember Sears before they kind of went out of business?
Yeah.
Sears and Roebuck or whatever, they
Roebuck,
had an
yeah.
alarm system. I didn't even know they made alarm systems. They had the Sears and Roebuck's alarm system. And I was like, what? So anyways, I go in this house and it's not good. Okay.
Right.
It's not good.
Needs more than just love.
Oh my God. It needed a match and a torch.
Yeah.
It needed all of it. But I brought one of my assistants that helps me with like some of these bigger projects. And she just like was looking at me with like a deer in headlights. And I'm like, let's just start at one end, kind of tag team, whatever.
Baby
Okay.
steps. Yeah.
So I kind of curiously say, I like, text the real estate agent and I'm like, hey, listen, I know you want this in like 2 days. This is not going to happen. She's like, remember, it's as is. We just need to clean it up a little bit. Okay. So I was like, I don't know, because I know as is. Okay, fine. They're just going to buy it. But I'm like, what do I do with all this shit? That's like
Right.
the mom died and the son has the house and he's a hoarder and she's a hoarder. It was just terrible. Anyways,
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
there
Where there's
is.
someone like still in the house. Yeah.
It's so crazy. So one of the things that blew my mind, and I never asked, but I was like, okay, so as is meaning they're just going to, she's like, they're just going to tear it down. I'm like, okay, again, I don't care. She didn't say exactly she knew. She had 86 offers during COVID. 86 offers. Because I said, well, how did the open house go? She goes, oh my God. Okay. Now, this was during the time where everything was like, people were 100,000 over asking. Like it was, I don't understand what was happening in the world. Two things, like, why are you offering more money for a house during, I didn't understand that. And also, was one of the side effects, of COVID, like explosive diarrhea, because why was no toilet paper being found? I never understood those two things. That was a mystery. But anyways, it was just such a mystery. I was like, why? So anyways, she's like, there was like 86 offers and it was cash. Most of them were cash offers. And it was like, I was like, do you mind me asking? Because this house literally had to be, it was original, everything broken, just light a match. And she was like, they were asking, like, let's say they were asking $899 in Woodland Hills, and it was like over $1 million for a house that's going to be torn down. So then I'm like, why am I helping? Because if he just takes his stuff and puts it in like a pod, because he wanted everything. He wanted everything, every piece of paper, I was like, oh my God. So anyways, and it blew my mind because I'm like, what was the deal with COVID? Like, what do you think that mindset was? Because that wasn't the only house. That was just one that stood out more than other ones. And she got like over 100 over asking, maybe 150 over asking, which that was kind of what people were telling me. Like they paid, or, these people paid all this money. I'm like, why were you paying? Like, what was I didn't understand. Was it people scared that they weren't going to have a home? Like, what do you think? I know that's just random.
Well, there were so few homes, right? And interest rates were so low. So it was like the cost of getting a mortgage was so cheap. So I don't think, like, right now, if you think about sort of fast forward, right now, interest rates are so much higher than they were during that time you're explaining. The rates were like around 3.5%, and now they're around 6.5%.
Yeah.
So a lot of buyers right now are hesitant to make offers, 100,000 or 150 more because the payment is just uncomfortable. They can't do it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And so at that time, I think it was the fact that there was just not a lot of properties for sale. And like I was saying before, the market, like what the value of your home is really not like what Zillow says the value of the home is. It's how much the buyers are willing to pay for the home and how much the seller is willing to sell it for, right? The seller could say, hey, this Woodland Hills home now that they bought during COVID is now worth 1.5, and they put it on the market at 1.5, and all these buyers come in at say 1.25, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, what do you mean? It says Zillow says it's worth 1.5." Well, you know what? It's only worth what the buyers are willing to pay.
Right. Right.
So if one, they might say, "Oh, forget it. I'm just not going to accept any offers. I'm just going to keep it here at 1.5 till the right buyer comes along." They probably still won't pay 1.5. You might get somebody that comes on and doesn't see the history that the house has been up for sale for that long. And there's all these little tricks of the trade that realtors will do to like take it off the market and try to clear that history.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
maybe someone will come and pay 1.3, but
Yeah.
like, or maybe they're only going to get 1.2 for it and they'll kick themselves that they didn't take the 1.25 offer. So it's a really, I love real estate. I think it's fascinating. And I love seeing how, yeah, some houses have tons of activity and
Yes.
others just sit. And you wonder why,
And
right?
you wonder why. And I do like it is fascinating to me because a lot of people are like, why don't you get into real estate? I'm like, oh no, that's just not my wheelhouse. But I mean, I say that. I don't know. I mean, maybe if I really took the test, I wouldn't. But people always ask me questions about everything. But I'm like, not right now. So, anyways, but I just find it so fascinating is like during COVID when everyone was so crazy about all these certain things. And then the housing market was like kablooey. Like, I mean, people wouldn't even put a house. They barely get the sign in this dirt and the house was already sold sight
Yeah.
unseen. Like I would see that happen and like you hardly saw anything. And I was like, during COVID, because I guess maybe the enticing part was the interest rate for people because I
Yeah.
was like, why is this the time when you're deciding to buy, you can't your kids can't go to the park, but you're buying a house. Like I just didn't understand. But I guess that makes sense. Like I said, I'm
And
not
people were like, I can't live in this space and work from here and do everything in these four walls.
that's
So
true.
it was
Oh
like
gosh.
they had to make that change, or maybe, grandma was living with them and then grandma can't go back to Washington because you can't get on a flight. So we
Yeah,
need a house for grandma like yesterday,
that's
So
true.
it was I think it
Yeah.
was like that need to just, yeah, rehome, get out. They also, a lot of people seemed to have a lot more cash on hand, because they weren't spending, they weren't going on vacations or working on their
True.
house or anything, so there was just, like, a lot of extra frothy money around, right?
But
So
then, to me, like, I would see, like, when you wanna like, for myself, I'm like, I did because you never did anything, right? You
right.
didn't go on vacation, you just kinda maybe a local thing, you just, like, my mom has a house in Utah, so we would go to Utah, but we weren't really doing anything, we would just be at a different house doing nothing,
Same thing.
really.
Yeah.
But it's like those houses, like you said, they had the classroom setups because everyone was doing at home and blah, 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 and the house was probably shrinking, but I always feel too, like, why aren't we saving our money now? Because also, wasn't that a lesson to, like, maybe you don't you know what I mean? Like, if you really
Like,
wanted
we
a
don't really
house
need all these things.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't need all these things, and that's what I tell people, when I'm talking to them, like, "Do you really need all these things?" And another thing I talk about, and I know it's so I say it jokingly, of course, I hope that you know my personality is very joking, but after the fires last year and we always have fires, we know that, but last year was I think pretty just epic fires, like, we're just back to back huge, huge fires, and I'm like, "If they yell fire and you have to evacuate, do you need 156 pairs of jeans? You're not gonna be able to grab them." So sometimes I'm like, if something happens like a COVID or a fire or something, like I try to be like, let's think about what's so important. Like I would like to have a nice home versus, 75,000 pairs of shoes. But,
Right.
whatever. It's everybody's thing. It's just but I try to joke with them when I'm trying to get them to decide to purge. Some people are just like, no way. But yeah, or you're busting at the seams in space, and I'm just like, "You can't bring any more in, and you're not moving, so how do we make this not so painful for you when you can't even, like, get your toast in the toaster because you have to find the toaster?" But yeah, so that's, like, totally off topic, but yeah, it was just interesting because like, during COVID, you kinda sat back, like I said, I was super busy, I know a couple other people who have their own businesses, it was, like, the best time for them. I'm sure it wasn't a bad time for
Same
you
for
just
me.
be
It was bananas.
yeah, like a
With
couple real
all the
estate agents
refinances and
yeah.
people purchasing, those were crazy times, yeah.
And it was funny because my one real estate agent, he actually helped us get into our rental, 11 years ago in where we are, and he was, like, part of Keller, or he's still part of Keller Williams, but they just said, "Oh, can you help us?" Because we were like looking on like ads, and so he helped
Yeah.
us, and he's amazing. I still talk to him and I adore him. He's like, he was embarrassed to tell me that during COVID, it was the busiest he ever was. He's like, I feel bad saying it because I know a lot of people lost their business, small business owners and
Yeah.
stuff. And he goes, and I had like the best 2 years of my life.
I
He's like,
know.
I'm embarrassed to say it. I'm like, me too.
And then you compare it to that, right? That's why it's like, yeah, being
Yeah.
in the real estate offices, people will say 25 wasn't a great year. They were hoping it would be. 24 really wasn't a good year. They were hoping it would be. But I think comparing it to that 2020, 2021, even a
Yeah.
little bit of 22 was
Yeah.
really great for real estate.
Yeah, it was just crazy, and it's fascinating to me. I wanted to ask you, and I know I'm going back one thing. So when you left school in Michigan and when you all of that happened and you decided to go to business school, what did you just went to business school? Because you obviously did business a little bit in your college life, right? But were you in a
Well, in
specific category?
college, I studied English and Spanish. So I was really
Oh,
like,
not
um,
really business.
I was not I took, like, one econ class, and I did horribly,
Perfect.
um, but I knew I wanted to go to some sort of grad school, so when the law school was sort of, like, not in the picture anymore, um, I decided to go to business school because it seemed like in order to kind of go up I didn't really know what I was gonna do past being at Countrywide and being an account executive, but I knew
Right.
if I wanted to get any sort of place in my career or do something different, I might need to have my MBA. So I did this program at USC. It was a fantastic program. It's called iBear, and they still have it.
Oh.
It's an international MBA. And with my Spanish background, I am not
Uh,
Latina, but I think I loved Spanish and I really wanted to incorporate Spanish into my work. So I kind of was like, well, let's see what happens. So it's a 1 year program at USC. It's for people sort of mid career. I was one of the younger ones in the program, having only had about 5 or 6 years under my belt in working at Countrywide. A lot of these other people had 10 or 15 years working, and they're
oh
from
wow.
all over the world, mostly the Pacific Rim, China, Korea, some from Europe, some from South America. And so there were about 50 of us, I think 40 or 50 of us in the program.
Oh, nice.
And it was so cool. Being able to me, even though I went back into mortgage after business school, I think it prepared me to have an intelligent conversation with a business owner. It also helped Jason and I he also did the program like 2 years after I suffered.
Oh.
Right. It was so hard. And he was like, I want to do it. I was like, really? You saw me suffer through econ again. It was terrible again. Statistics. But what we loved, we still talk about some of the classes we had that we loved. Like one of them was negotiation, right? And what I do every day, I'm also negotiating
Oh,
and
yeah.
learning,
Oh, yeah.
right? And drawing on that experience, or even like what do they call it? Operations, which you go to like TJ Maxx, and when you go there, there's like 5 checkers, right, and one
Mm.
line. But that's because it is proven that if you have one line and then all of these take checkers, makes the line go way faster than 5 lines and 5 checkers.
Mhm.
Because there's always a hold up at one, and then all those people waiting there don't get helped, and then they move lines, and then it happens again. So those kinds of things, and having how to handle like bottlenecks and things like that, I learned from business school. And then I think just having that professionalism to be able to speak to a potential homeowner or a home buyer. Maybe they're buying a $5 million house and they're running these huge company. I don't feel intimidated by them like at all because I understand how they're working their business. I understand the accounting of it. And I can speak to them at a level that I think they appreciate and respect and know that I have a little bit more than the
Yes.
regular loan officer. Yeah.
Yes, and so, well, I wanna say one thing about that, but I'm gonna ask you the second part of this question. So with your career now and the career path you are in now, and you have been for a very long time after, let's just say after business school, even though you're in the same kind of industry, do you guys have, like, learnings and trainings and stuff that you guys to kind of keep your brain just, like, current and just, like, because we're a sponge. I love learning. I read all the time. I take like little quizzes and classes and stuff just to kind of like little 2-day things just to kind of, keep myself alive in my brain functioning in different capacities. So do you still do stuff? Like, do they have like little conferences or
They
trainings and
do
stuff?
have, like, trainings and things like that. They're always coming out with new loan programs. So I have to learn. I have to maybe take a class to learn about how it works, how to sell it, what are the advantages of it, what to look out for, sort of like, gotchas. Um, but I learn a lot from my colleagues. I've been
Yeah, I bet.
when I was at the last company, Movement Mortgage, I made a few friends and we all came to Origin Point together. And we have a little
Oh,
text chain and we're always messaging back and forth like, hey, I have this client who blah, 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 I ran into this problem. What do you do? And,
yes.
so we are always learning from each other. And then when we get to be in person, we go on a trip annually for President's Club, which is super fun from the company that they sponsor us to go for like a couple days. And there's
Oh,
so
nice.
much learning that happens on that trip. And then there's another one for top producers that I get to go on. And so I'm always learning from my colleagues of different things they're doing, maybe to get more business, like how to strengthen relationships with realtors. I'm really learning a lot from them and what they do, and just sort of rinse and repeating, right? Or what are they
Yeah.
doing on social media? I should do that too. Or what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just
That's
helped me
actually
solve this
true.
client problem. Okay, great. Now I know how to do it for the future.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because, you know how they say like when you're networking or like you put in a resume, but if you know somebody in that and you can have a conversation with them and they can kind of see maybe they can recommend you versus the stack of resumes, right? So I always would say like, "Oh, it's so great," because when I was in the corporate America world, that's what I learned because after a while I was like, "I'm not really going anywhere." But then I would talk to someone and they're like, "You seem perfect for this role," or whatever.
Right.
Oh, and the same, kind of like a learning thing. I would just be a sponge, like, tell me what I need to do, tell me what I need to do to a human versus a book, I guess. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where I was going with that. But I wasn't sure if they still do that kind of stuff. I feel like, back in the day, it was always conferences and this and learning and this, and you would sit
Yeah,
there and
not
be
as
like,
much. I mean,
yeah,
those couple of trips is like a bit of a conference and learning.
yeah.
And then I also have a coach. I have a business coach that I love and adore. I could introduce you to her too.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yes.
and she helps me. She recommends books for me to read about business or how to work on one thing or another. Like we did a whole thing on personalities and
Oh,
how to sell to certain types of personalities, especially like sometimes I'll work with some realtors where I feel like they don't trust me, or there's some like element where they're like calling me all the time and wanting to know the status and a little bit demanding. And I finally sort of uncovered it that it's a little bit more of like for them, they are perfectionists and
oh,
they
yeah.
don't want to mess up anything or have their clients see that there was some sort of error made. So they're so controlling. But really, if you unpeel it, it's more about them wanting to be perfect. So learning how to not feel like offended by these types or feel like, I got this, right? I want to help them see that they can trust me and maybe give them a
Yeah.
little bit of extra here and there, like this is not a problem, this is a normal part of the process, etc. So we work on that. Or like she recommended a book one time to me, I think it's called like 10x, something 10x is better than 2x, like thinking about your business and saying, okay, I want to double it for next year and all the little things that go along with it. Well, the book was more about like, how do you 10x your business? Because
Yeah.
if you make actually some small tweaks, you can 10x your business without a whole lot of effort. Working on like sort of that 80-20 rule, right? Where 20% of your business, you get 80% of your business from 20% of, the realtors let's say that I
Right.
work
Right.
with.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how do I get that 20% to really grow? So she's always helping me learn too and create new systems and things like that.
That's wonderful. That's because you're talking to somebody who's, like, in that world, and it's just, like, you can have this connection versus just, like, the book, and, I mean, we can always learn and read and all of that, but it is interesting to have those conversations. I really didn't even know there was a business I mean, I guess I knew there was a business coach, but I didn't that's fascinating. I'm gonna
Oh
get
my
that
God, there's like a whole
Yeah.
industry around coaching, and it's a little bit of therapy too,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but a lot more coaching, and you'll find different kinds of coaches out there. So the one that I love helps me like really with systems and like she those books and things like that. And we yesterday we like went over my numbers because we're almost at halfway through the year and how are we tracking for the
Oh,
rest of the
wow.
year? Because how do
Halfway through.
you don't usually have the time, or it's not like my husband is interested in talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 I know my
yeah, so
husband isn't
it's fun to
interested.
do that kind of stuff. It really, I
Well
think, elevated my business to hire a coach.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and that's actually really great. I've heard of business coaching, like life coaching and all that stuff. People always joke that I'm a life coach too. So, but it's
You
interesting.
are.
I sometimes am, and not to talk. I mean, I love talking to you, and I want to hear this, but I'm going to say one thing that I've observed in the last, because my business in May, it had my 10-year anniversary of having my own business.
Congrats.
Thank you, and I just it blows my mind. I just wanted 6 months to a year so Charlotte didn't have to go to a daycare or a little somebody watching her when she was so little, because I panicked. I totally panicked. And to see where I thought it'd be like maybe a year and it's 10 years and it's so great and I learn all the time. But I have, in the beginning, I just went in like, oh, I'm just going to tell people to get rid of stuff because they don't use it. And they're going to be like, okay, great. And that's not what happens, right? So I also had to do some of my own homework on just like how to handle, like there's so many behaviors. And like you were saying about like real estate agents and that, like for me, I just go in, and I would just be like, I've had to learn how to just be like, okay, well, maybe today is not the day you get rid of that. And maybe we can revisit another time. And just saying that, I would see there'd be a couple people I could see with some pushback if I'd be like, well, I think we should get rid of that. And they would be like, no. And I'm like, well, if you're not using it, and then I could see them getting a little like, not
Yeah.
like mad, but just kind of, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if it's not today, then it's another time. And maybe next time I'm here, or maybe in a year, you'll be ready to get rid of it. And I
Right.
noticed just like a slight little, just a tweak of a word changed a lot, because in the beginning I would almost be like like I didn't do my job. I didn't help them get rid of stuff to make their home, and
Mhm.
so I had to kind of figure that out. And I have so many clients that have like severe ADHD and all of these things, and
Mhm.
I've been really researching and doing my due diligence. So I think just talking to you and just kind of reminding myself that just little tweaks and little things, it's just like you said, it wasn't anything personal. I took it personal, and you didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the beginning, I was like, oh, they didn't like what I did. I feel like I didn't accomplish, and they were fine with it. And I was the one that was like, wait, but it's not my home,
Right.
and
You're
I
like,
have
"Am
to
I gonna
remember
be
that.
hired back? Did I offend
Yeah,
them?"
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
It's
I
just
know. It
it's just
it's a
weird.
personality thing. There's a great I was trying to think if I have the book still. Um, no. I think I gave it to somebody else.
Oh,
But,
sure.
yeah, I'll have to get it for you. It's
Yeah, or just tell
fascinating.
me, yeah. Oh my god, I love it because it's just fascinating to me. Obviously, the mind is very fascinating too, and the way the world is and thinking, and I was just trying to get a different perspective from you and, like, your industry. I know a lot of people in real estate industry, but, like, just your story and, like, just how you can, you thought you were gonna go this path, we don't go this path, and that's okay. Like you said, your bearded professor who sounded like a very wise man as he was probably
Yes.
holding his beard while he was, on top of a
Exactly.
mountain with a peace pipe or something. And, he said just such a minute thing to you, and it was like, "It's okay, it's not the path you maybe thought, or it's not okay because you're so successful and you obviously have a passion for it." Because when I'm there, I can hear you. I don't hear everything because I'm usually jamming out to music, but I do, you know what I mean? You can tell when someone likes their job and you can tell when someone wants to poke their
Yeah.
eyes out. You do not want to
Yes.
poke your eyes out. And you're such a great personality. Like your younger one, she is you. Like her personality is 1,000% you. And it
Yeah.
cracks me up because I'm like, you guys are so cute. You're like little tiny little.
It's so similar. I know. It's, like, really wild.
It is. Isn't it so crazy? Like, Charlotte will say something to me that's exactly what I say, that I don't remember saying it in front of her, just like a little catchy little nothing. And she'll say it so matter of fact, like, "Oh, by the way, mommy, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, whoa, that's me. And of course, my husband's like, oh, good. Now there's
Yeah.
two.
Exactly. They multiplied.
Like it's happening, but your daughter just I feel like I see her a little more than your older daughter. One last question about like but does your older daughter, does she kind of have an idea what industry or what world she's wants to be in?
You know, she's so lucky because she excels in a lot of things, and
Yes,
I'm
she
such a
does.
proud mom for that. So she loves art, and being artistic, but she knows that's not gonna be, like, a way to really unless she hits it big, right, and becomes like a professional baseball player, which is like 1 in a million.
Right, right.
To do well in art is really tough. But so she loves fashion and she loves art and she loves singing and but she's also really, really advanced in math. Um,
She's like a jack of all trades, I swear. When I'm in
yeah,
her room and she's telling me, like, certain stories about stuff, I'm like, "You do that too? Like,
yeah,
you
and
do
then
that
she's
too?"
also like it's kinda crazy. My mom came to sleep over here once for something, and she made my mom's bed, like, the most beautifully made bed, right? Because she took the time and whatever, and anytime somebody is sick or you hurt yourself, she is the
Oh,
first one there with an ice pack or a hug or something. So, she's thinking maybe nursing, like a nurse practitioner
oh,
or but then still being able to, like, on the side, make stuffed animals with her sewing machine
yes,
or something, right? So she
yes.
has to probably incorporate that artistic side of her, but I think either with math or caring for people. Actually, the most recent thing she wanted to be was a vet. So we'll
Okay,
see.
okay, okay.
Yeah, a vet
I
and then like a like a pet therapist is
There we
also
go.
another thing she
Oh my
mentioned.
gosh. So in line with that, I always joke with Charlotte. Charlotte, we're a big pet family. We have 4 dogs. I think I've told you. They're little dogs, not Tommy, but I love him. I'm gonna steal him the next time I'm there. But with Charlotte, she'll be like, "Mommy, you know what I want to do?" So one day I'll be like, "Oh, you want to be a doctor now? Are you going to be a vet?" I always go to the top tier. You're going to be like the president. You're going to be, and she goes, so Charlotte loves, and right now with like the squishy thing, it's just bananas, but everything like rocks, anything, dolls, like Barbies, she'll go in the bathroom and she will line them all up and wash everything. She also, when she loses her teeth, she washes her tooth before she gives
Oh,
it
so
to the
she's,
tooth.
like, really
Yeah,
clean.
she's really clean. So and she's been that way the whole time. So like a few months ago, she says to me, so we're laying in bed, I'm doing a little 5-minute snuggle with her, and she again, it's always, and we always talk about vet and we always watch animal videos. So she goes, "Mommy, I think I know what I want to do." And I'm like, "Really? You do?" She goes, I'm like, "A vet?" She's like, "No, I want to be a cleaner." And I was like a house cleaner? And she goes, I go,
Right.
"Like, clean the house?" She goes, "Oh, no. I just wanna clean little stuff, like little rocks." And I go, "Well, honey, that's not a job." "I wanna clean teeth." I'm like, "You wanna be a dental hygienist?" "Oh,
Right.
no, I don't want to do that." But she, like, cleans her teeth for the tooth fairy still. She does anything, all the
That's so
squishies the
funny.
other
Well,
day.
she likes that, like, small
Yes,
hands-on.
she loves the
Yeah,
small
maybe she'll
hands-on.
be like a gemologist or something, a
Yes, and she
jeweler
loves those
or
too. She loves
yeah.
all of that stuff, and it just cracks me up because I just see, and it was just so funny the way she's like, "I want to be a cleaner." And I was
Cleaner.
like, "Wow." I didn't see,
Yeah.
okay, okay. But it's just
Okay.
interesting. She loves a lot of things too, but your oldest daughter, oh my gosh, she is, when I'm in there with her, she's a little more serious than your younger one. She's a little more quiet. I wouldn't say serious, but a little more
Well, she
reserved.
doesn't wanna she doesn't wanna
She
get
does
rid of anything. So
nothing.
she's always, like, a little
I know.
uptight
So
to
with me,
start.
she's like, she's dreading it.
Yeah.
She's probably like poking her eyes out in the corner. But then she'll get a rhythm, then she'll kind of be like, "Okay." And
Yeah.
I'll say, but it's so funny because she's so talented and in so many different ways. And obviously
Yeah,
that
she
stuff
loves
that,
hair and makeup. I
yeah.
mean,
Or she'll be like,
she
"See
told
this
me recently
dress?"
she wants to be a hairstystylist, and I was like, "Well,
Okay.
they
Okay.
make a lot of money.
They
That would
do. It's
work."
not like it used to be. And but like
Right.
one of like we were going through her closet one time, she's like, "Well, I made those dresses over there." I'm like, "And they're cute. They're not like you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
I'm just like, you have just an amazing girls and amazing
Oh,
family and
thank you.
all of that. And I thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with me. Obviously, your information will be on the podcast. So if anyone needs fantastic mortgage person, a fantastic person in general, just to talk to, please reach out to Sam, and her information will be on there. And I thank you so, so much
You're
for,
welcome. Thank you for having me.
of
You're such
course,
a delight, as
it
always, to
is.
chat with.
It is. I love chatting with you. I know when I'm at your house that you're so busy, so it's hard, but you're just amazing. And I thank you again. I appreciate you taking the time. And I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Thanks.
Jen.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of Unpacking with Jennifer. I hope you're walking away with a little inspiration and a few practical tips to make life at home just a little bit easier. If you love the episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new one. And if you found it helpful, I'd love if you left a quick review. It helps more moms like us find the show. This episode was engineered by Robert Altschuler. Music by Coldfire. Recorded and mixed at Command Recording Studios.